On today's video, I have an extremely exciting video, something I have been working on for a few days now. Probably this video has taken me probably the most thought, the most planning, and I'm really excited to share with you guys. I hope you enjoy it. This is my sub $200 gaming PC. Oh, also, surprise, surprise, it games at 4K and it chews through 1440p. So the other day on Craigslist, I found a couple of 780s for sale. It came with an SLI bridge. The guy was asking originally, I believe 200, 100 a piece. And I asked him if he would do 80. He ended up doing 85 for one of them. But then I was like, would you do 160 for both of them? And he goes 165. So I ended up doing 165 for two 780s, which is a great deal. 8250, plus it came with the SLI bridge, which is really nice. And it's just a convenience thing. I don't think I'll be pairing these in SLI, but it's nice to have. It's nice to just add on to sell. So I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, I could sell these for about 120 to 180 each, or I can make a really cool build out of them and try to keep it, since I got this graphics card for so cheap, I could try to keep it under $200, and I know that these 780s can game at extremely high resolutions and extremely high frames per second. So that's what I did. I found an old HP something or other, Optiplex 3000 or whatever, for $80. So originally it was $100. The guy gave me the wrong computer, and he was nice enough to meet me back and give me the other computer. And since it didn't have what he said it had, he took off $20. So it came with an i5 3570. 6 gigabytes of DDR3 memory, 4 gigabyte stick and a 2 gigabyte stick, 500 gigabyte hard drive, and a cruddy power supply. So I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, this power supply isn't going to work, and I happen to have a power supply laying around that would work for this extremely power hungry system. Maybe not the i5 inside of it or the motherboard or the RAM, but the 780 is going to draw an extreme amount of power. And I thought to myself, well, this 780 is going to draw so much power. I already have this power supply lying around. I have a case. Let's throw it all together. And for $160, I have a gaming PC that scores on 1440p, 1440 by 2560 on Unigine Heaven. It scored a 66.8 frames per second. And then on Unigine Valley, it scored 77.6 frames per second. Again, that's amazing. That is $160 that I spent. I had the case and power supply lying around. So if you add in a power supply, a 500 watt power supply, 550 watt power supply, you're looking at another about $30. And then the case, you can find a case anywhere. Just need to make sure it's big enough to fit the graphics card, because it's massive. And if you can find a case like that, probably another $20, bringing this to above $200, $210, $220. I personally spent $160 on it, so that's why the title of this video isn't incorrect. It's a $160 gaming PC. But to be honest, the two things that I already had on hand is only about $50. So what are some of the positives of this computer? Well, the first one is obviously price to performance. You're talking about, for myself, out-of-pocket expense, $160 after you take $165. For the two 780s divided by 2 is $82.50. I also got an SLI bridge, so I'm going to make that about $5. So I spent $80 on the GPU, on the motherboard, RAM, hard drive, and CPU. I spent a whopping $80. I also have a case and a power supply now that I have no use for. I'll probably just throw out. Or I don't know if I can throw this out. I'll just see if somebody on Craigslist will want them for free. And then I also am getting really, really good performance with this computer. For $160 out of my pocket, price to performance can't be beat. Number two, I'm running a genuine Windows 10 computer. I purchased this as a pre-built from HP, which means that it comes with an operating system on the hard drive, which is great. And it's not like some sketchy operating system that you buy where it's some Kingwin where you pay $30 and it's a little questionable, or you just are using the free version of Windows 10. this is a legitimate version of Windows 10, and the performance, it's not any different, but it's nice to not have that little thing in the bottom right, that little watermark. Number 3, I would say longevity. The 780 might be a 5-year-old graphics card to this point, but the great thing about the 780 is it was the second top tier card. 780 Ti would be a little bit better. It was the second top tier card of that era, which means that it's equivalent to about a 1060, maybe a little bit better than a 1060. And the 1060 is a solid card that's going to last another year, 2, 3 years of just solid 1080p gaming. Again, a 780 right now is running 1440p Unigen Heaven and Unigen Valley benchmarks. So I think longevity of this system is great, especially for how much I spent on it. And then comes the negatives. The first negative is going to be all of the negatives that come with the 780, including the sound that it makes, because it's loud, because it's always spinning the fans because it gets so hot, which is number 2. Number 3 would be the power draw. You need to have a beefier power supply. You need 2 8-pin connectors just to be able to plug this thing in, and the power supply that comes with pre-builts do not come with 2 8-pin connectors that you can plug into a graphics card. The other thing I would say the problem would be is there's no SSD, so it's running off of a hard drive. An SSD is a cheap upgrade and something that I might be willing to make for $50, $60 somewhere down the line. Maybe not right now, maybe never really, because the hard drive might just be good enough. But I would say that's probably my second complaint, or third complaint. And then my final complaint would probably be that it doesn't have Wi-Fi. And that's a stupid complaint that might not pertain to everybody, but for me, I don't have Wi-Fi at my house or my apartment, and I have to use my hotspot. And if this doesn't have a Wi-Fi card in it, I have to go buy a dongle to plug into the USB, which takes up a port, and then or I had to use Ethernet, which I don't have because I don't have Wi-Fi. So those are my few complaints there. And then obviously the most important complaint is that it's not running Mac OS, so there's no optimization with all my stuff. Although people are going to fly right back and say, well, it's got more performance than your Mac, which in terms of gaming is true. Compute performance, it's not just on the CPU side, but gaming, it's not even close. Which is what it's supposed to be, though. So what do you guys think about this build? Have you guys used a pre-built computer in the past to harvest some parts, maybe just the RAM or just the CPU? You already had a motherboard, or you needed the motherboard, you already had the CPU and the RAM, and you decide to sell everything else or whatever. I would be curious to know what you guys have done with the pre-built computer in the past. It's kind of a tried and true method to budget gaming. And I would love to know if you guys have built a computer that's better than this for the price you think. For $160, I have a 780, an i5 3470, 6 gigabytes of RAM, and a 500 gigabyte hard drive. It's not going to blow anybody away, but for $160, it probably will. Almost seems too good to be true, but it is all true. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section down below. I will see you guys in the next video. This is Scott with Techno Eclipse. Have a great day, and I will see you guys tomorrow.